I lean to the over in this game. I'm going to go for that. We're going to get the famine there for Sampson on the feast and famine end of it, and I just don't trust Plesac as well.
Red Sox and Twins. David Price will try to follow up what Rick Porcello did last night. He was brilliant as he outpitched Jose Barrios in a 2-0 Red Sox win. David Price gets the mound tonight. Price was not good in his last start, but quality pitchers have a tendency to bounce back off bad starts.
For sure, David. Last night, you as a Red Sox fan, when you watch Porcello and he throws a game like he did last night.
I want to give him the Italian pronunciation. He's Porcello.
Porcello?
Yeah.
Okay. When he pitches a game like that, you got to look at it and say, why, how can he be so bad and be so good at other times? He's an up and down pitcher, but tonight you got Price. I think the Price will be right tonight. I think he'll bounce back in a big way. You look at this one, Minnesota, though, off of a loss. They've been money, 18-6 this year. As far as the total goes, Boston's 11-3 to the over in road games after a game, Dave, where the bullpen gave up 0 runs. I'm going to go ahead and look to the over in this one tonight. I think the 9.5 Minnesota gets back to their winning ways of hitting the baseball. This could be another high-scoring game.
Jeff Sherman is back from vacation, and he joins us right now from Superbook USA. Hi, Jeff. How was vacation for you?
It was great. Nice and relaxing. A couple days up in Zion and Utah,
Nice.
So it was good to get away.
You can follow Jeff on Twitter at Golf Odds, and we'll talk about the golf in a little bit. But we got to first talk about the NBA, which is your baby down at Superbook USA. And we're going to start with the Lakers trade. I mean, this is Lakers country. And when they make a deal like this, it's going to have a big impact at the betting windows, and certainly has, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it wasn't unexpected. When this all changed for our future book when Klay Thompson got injured in Game 6. After that game, with Thompson and Durant looking at lengthy injury recovery time, we had Golden State at 7-2 as a favorite for the title next year. I bumped them up to 14-1 and started reshaping it. And then with the rumors about Anthony Davis having gone on so long, I lowered the Lakers to the 5-1 favorite at that point. And then so for the next day and a half, we had them at that until we took a $10,000 wager on the Lakers at 5-1 on Saturday, about a half hour before the Woj bomb dropped. And then I adjusted after that and settled at 3-1. But, we got some money on them at low numbers anticipating this trade would happen. But it definitely had a large effect on the market.
You also, and I love it when the Superbook does stuff like this because it's a fun prop. It's really intriguing. And that's a prop to win the title by 2021-22, a yes-no proposition that can go on for a few years. Talk about that, Jeff.
Yeah, we put that up before last season, and it's the duration of LeBron's contract. So it was a 4-year contract with the 4th year being an option year. But we wanted to do it for his longevity on the team and see if they'd win a title under his regime there. So it's been fluctuating back and forth, and just the last week he could have got plus 350 on the yes, but obviously with this next year's future book taking a little different shape with the Lakers a favorite now, this prop itself is down to yes plus 150, no minus 180.
Jeff, I look at this prop and the Lakers getting all the money to win the NBA Finals. They've got 6 guys on the roster right now.
Yeah, but they got $22 million in cap space to go sign some depth.
That's the question, though. And Jeff, you follow the NBA closer than anybody else. Let's make you GM for the day. You have the $22 million. Do you go after a big piece, like a Kyrie, or do you spend it and go for the depth and try to get some marginal players to fill the void here? Because you got to fill the roster, and you got to have some other players on this team. Which way do you go? We're making you GM.
Yeah, there's no doubt that I would split it up and try to get a few quality guys that aren't as high price range as the one top guy to put with these guys, because then you're really thin after those, 4 guys now, because I love Kuzma, and he's still there, so he's going to be a big part of this. But beyond that, I know Rajon Rondo said he wants to return. He's a guy that would probably sign a minimum deal and come back and be a point guard like they need. You can get guys like that, but you can fill in some shooters, and that's definitely what this team needs that they didn't have last year. And I would try to get a few decent shooters out there and not just try to scrape the bottom of the barrel after signing one of the top guys.
All things considered, because I think he might have just sat out next year if they didn't deal him. I think Pelicans got a pretty good haul for Anthony Davis, didn't they?
Pretty good. I think they got a lot more than they should have got.
Really.
It was a great haul for what, a pending free agent a year from now, with Pelicans not having too much leverage other than the Lakers needed to make this trade. They weren't looking at getting any top-name free agents. It's been like this for a while, and now they at least put themselves in a position, even if you went away from LeBron, they're going to have Anthony Davis at 26 years old for the next few years, where he wants to be, and you're always going to be able to attract free agents in that market with a young guy like that. So it just puts them in a different conversation by getting him, but they gave up an awful lot to do it. I think they could have gotten away with it for a little bit less, which they offered more when Magic was there in January. That included Kuzma and Zubac and a few other guys too. So they did it for a little bit less than the January offer, but they could have played a little bit of hardball, in my opinion, and probably gotten away with maybe a draft pick less, something to that effect.
Jeff, there's a lot of talk that Kawhi Leonard, it's either going to be Toronto or the Clippers. If he goes to the Clippers, how much do you adjust your numbers? Because all of a sudden, the Clippers team, which showed they showed a lot of life last year, and didn't fold down the stretch. They played well. You add a piece like that with Kawhi Leonard on that team, I think it's got to balance the book some.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too much of an adjustment now because we have the number priced in with a real possibility of him going there, sitting at 7-1 right now. If he did sign there and went away from Toronto, I could see lowering him to about 5-1. It wouldn't be too much off of what they are now. But ever since we put this up in early May, we opened them at 16-1, made adjustments. Like I said, the big adjustments happened with the Golden State injuries because that really brought everyone else back into play. So we reshaped it with that. I went down to 6-1 on the Clippers, but now with the Lakers getting Davis, I bumped him up to 7. I could see him about 5-1, and that would really put Toronto out, and that's where the adjustment would be made, is raising Toronto out a lot.
That makes sense. Gary Woodland is the upset winner at the U.S. Open. I'm sure there were tickets on him, but I think I'm going to take a guess and say this was a very good result for the house.
It was a good result. We actually had one of our sharp players that bet 500 on him at 80-1.
Nice bet.
So, but we did well on the outrights, the matchups, the propositions. It was a strong tournament for the book across the board, and a very intriguing end there with Koepka chasing him down to the end.
The British Open, not that far down the road, and it really is my favorite tournament to watch because it's not in the middle of the night. I mean, you can't beat that. Brooks Koepka is going to be the favorite. Now, there's no more. There's no more. Well, it'll be close between these two. Brooks Koepka is going to be the favorite in every major moving forward for a little bit, I guess.
He is. He's the only golfer in single digits for the Open Championship at 6-1, and then Rory McIlroy is second at 10-1. They're playing this in Northern Ireland, which they rarely do. It's been over 50 years since they've done that, but that's basically the home area for McIlroy, so I'm expecting to see him get a lot of betting support. But he's the second favorite, then it goes up from there. So, it's still hard for me to grasp that this is the final major of the year. I'm expecting more after it, but, it concludes in another month from now with the Open Championship.
Well, meanwhile, more good tournament action. The Travelers Championship is this weekend, and for a week after the U.S. Open, it's not a bad field. Talk about who the favorite is and some of the other guys attracting early action, and then I'm going to throw a few of my names at you and see what you think.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly strong field, and we haven't had any withdrawals, which is really rare for the week after a major. But I've got Brooks Koepka, the 8-1 favorite, Patrick Cantlay at 10-1, then you got Spieth, Casey at 16, Jason Day, Thomas, Molinari, DeChambeau. So it's a really solid field, and after a major, some of these guys in contention, I would look away from the top guys. Mm-hmm. I'm actually looking at two local guys with Ryan Moore, Charlie Hoffman, because of course history here, and that's the big thing I go with at the Travelers. Is you look at a guy like Bubba Watson, he played miserably at the U.S. Open. He can't play that style of course. He can play great here, and he's won here 3 times. So Ryan Moore, Charlie Hoffman are a couple guys that can really take to this course at some nice odds.
Hoffman is one of the guys of the four names I was going to mention. Hoffman is on that list. I'm kind of intrigued by him this week. Let me throw my other names at you. Emiliano Grillo, Daniel Berger, and Russell Henley.
Yeah, it's funny because Grillo and Berger, that's a matchup that I use, so I like both those guys. And Henley, he's just had a rough season. I know he's got long odds. You can find him in the 100-1 range. It's just he's really had a disappointing season. I really couldn't get behind him, but I can definitely see the Grillo angle. I mean, he's been really under the radar, and he's got the potential to win.
And one other note on Berger, he started the year coming off a hand injury or wrist injury, and he's starting to get in form. He's made 7 straight cuts now, and this guy's a contender in this type of tournament when he's healthy, and I think I might give him a vote of confidence this week.
Yeah, he's got the 3 times he's played here. He finished 5th, 2nd, and last year the 67th for the outlier, but a couple top 5s on this course, and like I mentioned, the guys that have done well here in the past really keep showing up and doing well. That's why you see Paul Casey at 16-1. He hasn't had the greatest year for Paul Casey standards, but his 4 years on this course have been impeccable, and he's right up there at the top of the odds board.
Jeff, before we switch to soccer, I got to say one more thing on golf. I saw a very nice golf swing on Twitter today from Mini Golf Odds about baby golf odds, and congratulations on the exploding pink golf ball.
Yeah, thanks. We just found out that yesterday, and that was a surprise for our daughter and Mini Golf Odds, and she's got a lot better swing than I do. I'll say that. So
I was going to say that was a pretty impressive swing.
Yeah, it's she's getting quite a few views on Twitter on that. So it's maybe there's some golf coaches out there for college that want to take a look at her and get her a scholarship going.
There you go. That sounds good. Women's World Cup action. Look, I might not follow it, but an awful lot of people are. It's getting a lot of action. We had I think it was Brazil and Italy, was it today? That was, I don't even know what took place in the match, but I saw the numbers bouncing around. What are the matches that figure to be the best watches and best volume games over the next few days?
Yeah, I'll just recap that Brazil-Italy match today. We actually had enough wagering handle on that it was basically like a small NFL-sized decision. So there was a ton of Italy support, a ton of over support. The book did really well on that, but there's a ton of play. There's not much soccer going on except for the CONCACAF Gold Cup, the Copa America, and the Women's World Cup. So it's really concentrated on these international events. And, our largest liability on the Women's World Cup is the U.S. and the outrights. And their matches are the ones that command the most interest. Now, they play against Sweden as the last match of the group stage on Thursday. And the U.S. is a $4 favorite, a goal and a half on the spread line. And we'll see a ton of handle on that game. But it's the U.S. matches that really drive the betting handle in this event.
Jeff, you've been on vacation for a couple of weeks, so coming back, how's the NFL action? You guys have a lot of options up. Have you been taking any serious wagers?
It's been pretty consistent with the Bears, the Cowboys, and the Raiders in the future books. I mean, those are 3 of our larger liabilities. And recently this weekend, I actually just took a limit bet on the Redskins +9 at Philadelphia in Week 1. So I went from 9 to 8.5. So there is still NFL action, even when it's the quieter times right now. But it just never stops. It's really fluid, and we've even got to 552 entries in the Super contest. And in the past we started sign-ups July 1st, so we're basically ahead of the game by over 500 entries at this point.
And the big news, of course, that if you are in the state of Nevada, you'll be able to put your Super Contest plays in on an app this year.
Yeah, that's huge for us. I mean, it's just such a convenience for all the players, and even if there's proxies out there that are putting it in for people that just not to have to fight traffic on a Friday night. You just make the one trip down and sign up for it. And then you got all season where you can do it at your convenience, do it last minute. It's a game changer to be able to do this. So we're really looking forward to that.
And make sure you've got that app downloaded. It's free to download. In fact, you don't even have to have an account to download the app and be able to view it. You can download any app, but you can't view it at most places unless you've got an account. You don't need that. At Superbook USA, you can view everything that's on the menu, and that should be enough to get you down to Superbook USA to open your account.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities to wager, and we're looking at putting up our college football season wins in July when a few of the other guys return back from vacation. So there's always things going up there, and you just have to keep checking it out. And it might take you a while to look through the menu, but it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun just to scan the menu late at night. I do that myself. It's like, okay. Just make little mental notes. It is fun. Jeff, it's always a pleasure, buddy. Good to have you back from vacation.
Okay, thanks, guys.
And make sure to follow Jeff Sherman on Twitter at Golf Odds. We'll come back, and we will get to our Joe's Angle of the Day and some West Coast Big League Baseball.
The Las Vegas Sports Line. When it comes to dependability in car batteries, no one beats Interstate Batteries. Interstate Batteries has been providing outrageously dependable starting power for over 65 years.